Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Bill. We're going to be in the Masters of the Wild. This is a continuation of the Prestige class videos. The Prestige classes we're looking at are from 3rd edition D&D. We'll look at the Hexer Prestige class today, and we'll look at the requirements for the class. We'll look at the table, what you get, and then we'll go back and read the greater details, the paragraphs of the abilities you get off the table. And then I'll give my comments on how or what changes I would make to use this in a Pathfinder game. The Hexer. Do not meet the gaze of a shaman with an evil eye. Warn townfolk who have crossed paths with a Hexer. Unfortunately, the typical intrepid adventurer rarely hears such advice in time. The Hexer profits by this in ignorance, surprising his victim with the power of his gaze. Many Hexers inflict curses that follow their victims like a plague. The more powerful practitioners can engender fear, cause magical slumber, or enthrall their victims as slaves with a mere glance. Requirements to become a Hexer. Race/type, monstrous humanoid, giant, goblinoid, or other primitive humanoid, such as orc or gnoll. So if you're not one of those races, the only way to become one is to learn from one of those races. Alignment, any non-good. Skills, knowledge arcana 10 ranks, spellcraft 8 ranks, wilderness lore 10 ranks. So right there, I'd back the skill ranks off by at least 3 points each to be appropriate level, to be the same level as 3rd edition in a Pathfinder game, because the skill ranks are done differently from 3rd edition to Pathfinder. And then wilderness lore becomes survival in Pathfinder. Spellcasting, ability to cast lightning bolt as a divine spell. And then every time you gain a level of Hexer, you roll a d6 for hit points. You get 2 plus your intelligence modifier for skill points. You do not gain any new weapon or armor proficiencies. And the following skills are class skills for the Hexer. Alchemy, concentration, craft, handle animal, heal, knowledge, profession, scry, and spellcraft, and wilderness lore. So concentration is built into all the spellcasting classes in Pathfinder, so that wouldn't be on the skill list. Alchemy is now a craft in Pathfinder, so it'd be craft alchemy, so just having craft would be enough. And then wilderness lore would be called survival. So those would be the changes there. Now the table, the Hexer actually gets a really good attack bonus. It gets the best attack bonus in the game, the same as a fighter. Every level of Hexer, your base attack bonus goes up by +1. So at 1st level, it is a +1. At 10th level, it's a +10. Your best save as a Hexer is will save. It starts at a +2 at 1st level, and by 10th level will be a +7. So you could look at any core class, and their good save would do the same thing. Now their fort and reflex save for the Hexer is the worst save. So they start at a +0, and they'll only end at a +3 at 10th level. And that would follow the worst saves out of the core rulebook. Now, every level of Hexer gives you +1 level of existing class as far as spells per day and spells known. So if you were a cleric taking this and you qualified at, let's see, knowledge would have to be 7, so you'd have to be 7th level. So if you qualified at 7th level, say you took 5 levels of this, you'd be 12th level as far as your casting magic goes. So you'd look at your table, and that's your level as far as the magic goes. So at 1st level, you get Hex once per day. At 2nd level, you get bonus spell and Hex 2 per day. At 3rd level, you get Sicken Hex. At 4th level, you get bonus spell and Hex 3 per day. At 5th level, you get Fear Hex. At 6th level, you get bonus spell and Hex 4 per day. At 7th level, you get Sleep Hex. At 8th level, you get bonus spell and Hex 5 per day. At 9th level, you get Charm Hex. And at 10th level, you get a bonus spell and hex 6 times per day. So, let's start with spells per day, spells known. At each hexer level, the character gains a new spell per day, and spells known, if applicable, as if he had also gained a level in his spellcasting class, to which he belonged before adding the prestige class. He does not, however, gain any other benefits a character of that class would have gained. Additional wild shape options, meta magic or item creation feats, or the like. If the character had more than one spellcasting class before becoming a hexer, the player must decide to which class to add each hexer level before determining spells per day and spells known. Hex. At first level, the hexer gains a gaze attack. He can use this ability once per day at first level and twice per day at second level, and thereafter he gains one additional use per day for this ability for every 2 hexer levels he acquires. Activating this power is a standard action, and it lasts for a number of rounds equal to the character's hexer level. Each round, the hexer's gaze attack automatically works against one creature within 30 feet that is looking at, attacking, or interacting with him. Targets who avert their eyes have a 50% chance of avoiding the gaze, but the hexer gains 1/2 concealment, 20% mischance, relative to those who successfully avoid the gaze. Targets can also close their eyes or turn away entirely. Doing so prevents the hex from affecting them, but grants the gazer total concealment, a 50% mischance relative to them. So the only way I could counter that as a player, this thought as I was reading it popped in my mind, is to have the blind fight. So if the character had blind fight, you could close your eyes and fight them, and you'd only have effectively a 25% mischance because you'd roll the 50% twice. An affected target must make a will save DC 10 plus the hexer level plus the hexer's wisdom modifier, or suffer a -4 enhancement penalty on attack rolls, saving throws, ability checks, and skill checks. These effects are permanent until removed with Break Enchantment, Limited Wish, Miracle, Remove Curse, or Wish spell. This is an enchantment effect and cannot be dispelled. A hex does not affect undead creatures or extend beyond the plane that the hexer occupies. The hexer is subject to the effect of his own reflected gaze and is allowed a saving throw against them. Bonus spell. At second level, the hexer adds a new spell of his choice to his spell list. This spell must come from the Wizard Sorcerer spell list and must be a spell level that the hexer can cast. He can prepare this new spell at the same spell level as it appeared on the Wizard Sorcerer list. He gains one additional bonus spell for every 2 hexer levels he has. Sicken Hex. At third level, the hexer can use his gaze attack to inflict debilitating illness. This ability functions like the hex ability above, except that the target must make a fortitude save instead of a will save to resist. And the effect is as described below. A Sicken Hex requires only 1 daily use of the character's hex ability. Excuse me. A target who fails the save is overcome with pain and fever, which causes him or her to move at 1/2 normal speed, lose any dexterity bonus to armor class, and suffer a -2 circumstance penalty on attack rolls. These effects are permanent until removed with Break Enchantment, Limited Wish, Miracle, Remove Curse, or Wish spell. A Sicken Hex is a necromancy effect that cannot be dispelled. Fear Hex. At 5th level, the hexer can use his gaze attack to engender fear. This ability functions like the hex ability above, except that the target is affected as if by a fear spell. A Fear Hex is a mind-influencing, compulsion, enchantment effect, and it requires 1 daily use of the character's hex ability. Sleep Hex. At 7th level, the hexer can use his gaze to generate a sleep effect. This ability functions like the hex ability above, except that duration is 10 minutes per character hexer level, and the target is affected as if by a sleep spell. A Sleep Hex is a mind-influencing compulsion enchantment effect, and it requires 1 daily use of the character's hex ability. So my first, since it's not in writing, my first change would be that affects you no matter the hit dice. Because it says as if by a sleep spell. So just to clarify that for my players. Charm Hex. At 9th level, the Hexer can use his gaze attack to generate a charm monster effect. This ability functions like the Hex ability above, except that the duration is 1 day per Hexer level, and the target is affected as if by the charm monster spell. Should the Hexer fall victim to his own reflective gaze attack, he is affected as if by a hold monster spell. A charm hex is a mind-influencing charm enchantment effect, and it requires 1 daily use of the character's hex ability. So none of these require more than 1 day's use, so I don't know why it was worded that way in some of them, unless they were planning on making some of them 2 days use. So, well, there's 2 ways I could go about changing this for Pathfinder. I could make all the hexes related to the witch's hexes, and then you would get those benefits as well, and I don't see why you couldn't. And the other would be I'd just give them 1 hex per day by character level, which would give them more uses. So by 10th level, they could use 10 of them per day instead of 6 per day. And I'd allow them to take, instead of bonus spells, I'd allow them to take bonus hexes from the witch's hex list. And the hexer's prestige class stacks with witch when determining what hexes you have available. That would be somehow I'd modify this. Let me know if you all think the hexer's pretty cool, if you would do anything different to modify it for a Pathfinder game. Share this video with anyone you think would enjoy it out of your fellow players or game masters. Until we all game again, guys.